but my children shall be free. Those were the words of an enslaved African woman on the Kensington plantation in 1831, right here in Jamaica. I want to welcome my sisters from South Africa, High Commissioner, President of the ANC Women's League, Coordinator, and I also want to acknowledge the presence of the chair of the NCR, as well as Professor Vereen Shepherd, our moderator, and all those wonderful people who are viewing this presentation and who are sharing in this great, wonderful experience. I'm so happy that our sisters are here and that we can share in this great moment. Okay, so these were the words which I quoted earlier, said by this African warrior woman I named Fire at the Flames of Freedom celebrations in St. James here in Jamaica 3 years ago. Fire expressed the sentiment of the campaigners for freedom across Jamaica in 1831. As prior agreement, they sent a signal to the enslavers that Jamaica was at war with Britain. The fire set burned hundreds of miles from Kensington to Blue Hole and beyond. I can just imagine that the flaming grounds and the illuminated skies across the country were fueled by the burning determination of our African ancestors, not just for freedom in all its dimensions, but equality, equity, dignity, justice, and I dare say, prosperity, who took part in the Emancipation War of 1831 to 32 alongside male soldiers, facing down bullets, chains, whips, imprisonment, and the gallows. We honor them today for their activism and sacrifice. We say the names of women like Eliza and Jane Whittingham and Anne James, who were put to death for the part they played in the cause. And Elizabeth Samuels from Bunkers Hill. She was sentenced to 100 lashes and 6 months in prison. They must forever be given their full recognition. Fire and the many like her in the movement stood on the shoulders of the greatest of them all, our national hero, Queen Nanny of the Maroons. Nanny, then as now, is hailed for her tenacity, her tactical planning, her fierce determination, and her outstanding military prowess, a signature of the Ashanti tribe. Nanny mesmerized and bewildered the British until in 1740, they made a peace treaty with her in the Rio Grande Valley in Portland, fanning the flames of freedom in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Her legend carries its own mystique, but she is distinguished as among the few women known to have led her people into successful military campaign for liberty. And so today, we salute Nanny, woman of purpose and destiny. I had the distinct honor of piloting through Parliament an act to absolve our freedom fighters of any ascribed criminality. This covered hundreds of women who stood beside and behind our men in battle. The defining work of the century after emancipation, which we achieved in 1838, again saw the distinct influence of formidable women who shaped this nation's history. Sometimes referred to as the mother of the nation, the Most Honorable Gladys Bustamante was on the front lines of collective action, seeing to the welfare of the disenfranchised worker, utilizing the vehicle of the powerful Bustamante Industrial Trade Union. Again, together with her husband, Sir Alexander Bustamante, Jamaica's first Prime Minister and a national hero, Lady Bustamante, is credited with birthing the Jamaica Labour Party, which today administers the government of Jamaica. Then there's Aggie Bernard, Elsie Powell, Beatrice Powell, Anne Hutchinson, Irene Campbell, Medora Williams, Kathleen Martin were among the protesters at Frome. Martin was killed in these labor protests of the 30s. We remember our resilient sisters and history makers all. Women such as Amy Jakes Garvey and Amy Ashwood Garvey and many more number among the faces of activism that came after. There's so many other names I could mention. I think too of Iris Collins, who in 1944 became the first woman elected to the Jamaican Parliament, who recognized the grit of the pioneering Madame Rose Leon, the first woman to chair a national political party in 1948, just 4 years after women were granted the right to be elected to Parliament. Leon was also the first woman appointed to a cabinet, the first woman to be re-elected to Parliament, and interestingly, the first woman to cross the floor when she left the Jamaica Labour Party to join the People's National Party in 1976. For my own part, my birth and baptism were political and cultural leader in West Kingston, with the proliferation of artists, sound engineers, intuitive painters, dancehall, and revivalism, and Afro-Christian religion, which evolved, taking key elements of Christianity, which was given to us by the enslavers. And we, our ancestors, transformed this by doing their own form of worship. I was mentored by a political anthropologist, a political leader and anthropologist. And through him, I was introduced to Imogene Kennedy, Jamaica's iconic Kumina queen. Kumina being the most African of our retentions. Queenie was small in stature, fearless and commanding, highly respected. She held people transfixed. I am fortunate enough to have been around to witness the unfolding of the awesome skill and craft of the mother of Jamaican culture and language, Miss Louise Bennett. She too being a multi-talented and multi-dimensional figure who liberated the language of the people. The theater, the media, and the poet's pen was this warrior's frontiers. With those giants before me, no wonder then I had an early relationship with all things culture and cultural development at the community. I was immersed into the ongoing struggle for the liberation and independence of the Jamaican people and the birthing of the Jamaican identity. Though many have by now forgotten, and the youth may not yet know, resistance took on its full political meaning in the turbulent 70s, where the political and ideological divide between the Jamaica Labour Party, of which I was and am a part, and the People's National Party was fierce and reflective of the geopolitics of the day. That period of my life led to 9 months of political imprisonment in 1976, and then later to exile. Being locked up in a cell was a painful separation from my family and a time of great uncertainty. I understood more deeply then the historical context of imposed captivity, and that our natural state of freedom is precious, invaluable, must never be taken for granted, and must be safeguarded. Now I also know that repair and reconciliation with one's past is patient but necessary work, and the only path to peace, progress, and development. I had my share of experience in Canada with racism. I started the first Black publication in Canada, and I became a strong activist during that Black Power period. But back in Jamaica, contributing to development of the reggae industry and management of reggae artists was a balm, as reggae music encapsulates the troubles and triumphs of the individual and Afro-descendant people, while providing a pathway for poor and innocent individuals and families. It put me again in a privileged juxtaposition with Rita Marley, wife of Bob Marley, along with Judy Morton and Marcia Griffiths, the trio globally known as the I3s. I honor these iconic women who carried forward the promise of reclaiming our cultural integrity and dignity as Afro-descendant people. Their performances with Bob Marley embodied the harmony and liberating power of the male and female of our species, acting in concert. Being entrusted with the direction of Jamaica's culture and music is for me, therefore, a sacred responsibility. Reggae music, the universal anthem of resistance and liberation, representing in South Africa significant strains of struggle against apartheid and an unstoppable wave of support for the release of Nelson Mandela. So it was too for the fight for the freedom of Namibia and elsewhere. In the political arena, I reflect on the fact that there were so few of us women in parliament when we began. But we were always there on the ground in our numbers, at the foot soldiers on both sides of the political divide. A testimony, however, to the certainty of change in the face of the challenge Jamaica has had in Portia Simpson Miller, the first woman president of the People's National Party, the party that jailed me, and the first woman prime minister who became my sister. In our last election in September, as campaign chair, I was proud to announce that the Jamaica Labour Party had selected 18 smart, capable, hardworking, caring women of integrity on our slate for the election. It was the highest number of women that any political party had ever put forward for parliamentary elections. And there were a number of women also put forward by the People's National Party. In the end, a total of 18 women had been elected to Parliament, with 14 of them representing the Jamaica Labour Party. As a longtime campaigner for greater participation by women in the political process, I am more motivated to help women, no matter the challenge, to find their voice and take their place on a stage of their choosing. Our work is unfinished. The act of rape of our enslaved ancestors endured, and other forms of exploitation still are a feature of today, even in the corporate spaces we dominate in Jamaica. Our parliament is confronting this with the introduction of sexual harassment legislation, which are marshalling through parliament. The struggle continues. I close much as I began. There is duty in honoring the lives that sacrifice for freedom, one which is discharged in recognizing the value in our own. We must secure reparatory justice for the future. This is a holistic form of justice that has always been conceived of as a way to redress wrongs, as well as achieve peace and reconciliation. The movement has had a long struggle, started by enslaved and freed Africans, and continued by Rastafari and civil society activists who maintain that perpetrators should repair Caribbean societies disfigured by conquest, native genocide, colonization, African enslavement, and a post-slavery regime of racial apartheid. I can't but invoke young Amanda Gorman as I close, my brothers and sisters. She said, "We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. History has its eyes on us. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it." My brothers and sisters, I thank you so much, and God bless you all. Thank you.